Hello, guys of United Rock Nations. We are an amazing company with Jesse Leach, the singer of Killswitch Engage. How are you?
I'm doing very well, thank you. How are you?
Very well, here in France, of course, and we are here, of course, to talk about the new album, This Consequence. This is your ninth album of the band, of course. Uh, it's 25th anniversary. What motivates Killswitch Engage to keep evolving and challenging itself?
We really love what we do. We appreciate the fact that we get to do it. And I think we realize there's a purpose to it. It's fun, it's entertaining, but there is a message and it I think it's bigger than just the music. It's the way we carry ourselves. It's our interaction with our fan base and, constantly being reminded that we are blessed to carry on for as many years as we have. I there's still moments where I can't believe I still get to do this. So that is very it's very apparent to all of us. So we don't take it for granted. Um, and also it's just fun. It's fun to live as an artist and to be able to like express yourself. What a freedom. When I've looked back on my life and all the jobs that I've had to work or even friends of mine who have to clock into a job they don't like, I don't have to do that. And that's a privilege.
Absolutely, absolutely. So this consequence is described as a classic uh, kill switch engage sound, but with something fresh. How did you balance the classic kill switch engage sound with the new and fresh ideas?
Yeah, I think the sort of classic sound is something that just comes natural to us.
Of
And I
course.
think the trick is taking something that sounds like what you would write and sort of tweaking it. And it could be just small. I think there's nuances. I don't think there's anything jarring on this record that people are gonna go, whoa, that's crazy. It's so different. But there are elements, I think of Broken Glass is a song that's very short and it doesn't have the usual Kill Switch big huge anthemic hook. It's more of a sort of a dark, dismal, disharmonious hook, and it's a very angry song about abuse, which is not really a subject matter we touch on. We have The Fall of Us, which leans more towards a death metal sound. So I think there's elements there that can be heard where we are grabbing from other influences outside of what people know us for. But I don't think it reaches so far out of, what we're known for that it's going to be jarring to most fans.
It seems that in this album, you work more collaboratively and face to face for this album compared to the previous ones. Tell us more about this decision to work like that.
So the discussion was to try a different approach, especially since atonement was such a huge task. We had written 22 songs for that record
Oh,
and
22 songs.
yeah, and it was just exhausting, really. More so for Adam, who produces the records and took on a lot when it came to recording. He recorded a lot of the stuff himself. He didn't want that to happen, and I think he felt overwhelmed. But that was a blessing in disguise because when we walked into this record, it was let's get into a room, the five of us, and jam. And I can't remember, I want to say 20 years it's been since we've done anything like that, where we just had some beers and all got together in a studio and jammed and watching songs be tweaked and created in this physical space was really inspiring. And I think that's probably, since we started there, I think that had a lot to do with how we approached this record. Instead of just sort of going back to what we know we can do,
Mm.
we challenged ourselves. And the challenge fell directly on my shoulders when the music was pretty much written. And I had to write something that felt fresh and inspired. It took me a while to find that voice, um, lyrically and even sonically, like how I wanted to present And I think I was just too much in my own head. And also coming out of the pandemic, I sort of lost a bit of my artistic voice
Oh,
because I had sort of retreated into myself and become very monastic and sort of
oh,
disengaged from the public. So coming back out of that, getting back on tour, and then it came time to write, and it was like someone putting a microphone in front of you and going, "So what do you think?" And I was like, I don't know what I think. I'm still kind of confused from what just happened. So it took me a while to sort of find my muse. And I think it all happened when I tapped into my heartbreak and my anger and frustration with how we treated one another during this time, how fear was pushed on us and we swallowed it and devoured it, and it divided us. And I'm still to this day angry with that. And I know that we can do better as people because we have so much more in common than we do differences. So that was sort of where I had my aha moment. How do I bring people together and make them pay attention? I'm going to use my anger righteously. I want people to know that there's a point on this sword, and I'm aiming for your heart. I want you to realize that things have to change. We have the power for the way that our world works, and we're being bended by the will of a small amount of people who benefit very greatly from our division. So that's kind of where my initial uh, muse came from, was that message, that urgent message filtered through anger and frustration.
great message. As you said before, I think you're pushing yourself lyrically and vocally on this record, as you said, just a few minutes. The was it really a challenge? Was it really a challenge?
I think for me, wanting to be, and I use this word loosely, relevant, but relevant to me and my band members. I wanted what I had to say to excite them, but I also needed it to be genuine. I needed it to be something that when I looked at those lyrics, I thought, yes, that's exactly what I want to say. And I went through, I don't know, 7, 8 songs where I was kind of just throwing it out to see what would stick. And, those guys were like, this doesn't feel like you're really giving us your best. So that having that sort of rejection from them initially was very hard. And
Yes,
it sort of felt like I was becoming insecure. I was wondering if I had it in me. But that turned into a determination to rediscover myself as a writer, to go deeper, to tap into things that I never tapped in before, and to sort of look outside of myself. I mean, after everything we've been through, there's so much to draw from. There's so much to pull from. So I started pulling from things that I was seeing on mainstream media. I started pulling from stories that I heard from people that they've been through. I started pulling from extreme, relationships of abuse and just kind of dialing them all into a story. Obviously, coming from me and the way that I saw and felt about those things, but it ended up becoming much more of a worldview as opposed to just me going, I, me, I. It was more about, oh, well, us. This is about us. Hence the title, This Consequence. It's about us, all of us. How do you respond to these situations? How do you modify your behavior? What lessons have you learned? And realizing that with everything that you do, there's going to be a reaction. So, you know, the big picture to me is what I was focusing on, and how to heal our PTSD from everything we've gone through, and realizing that we're still all going through it. We may not realize it, but we are. And how do we allow like the outside sources that are constantly manipulating us to control our minds and to continue to keep us divided? The challenge was, how do I crack that code? How do I get that message through to people? And I did the best I could, and I think I did pretty damn well.
absolutely. And do you think that to speak about all these topics is like a therapy? for you.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely it is. Um, and I think it's necessary. You can't avoid it. And I think I avoided it a lot during the pandemic. I wanted nothing to do with it because it was such a volatile time. I think we're all sort of coming down off that, and it's not so intense where people are actually open to discussions of, oh, maybe you weren't 100% accurate or correct in your belief.
Mhm,
Maybe you
exactly.
have maybe you have room to be wrong here. And if so, what did you learn from that? And how do you move forward without having that assumption being part of your vocabulary? I think all of that is very important. Um, and as a writer, how do I write it in such a way where you as the listener can draw your own conclusion? So I'm not giving you the answer. I'm asking you to think about this thing. And then what do you think about that? You as the listener can sort of put the answer on that question. And that's really what I tried to do, writing with a broad enough brushstroke where the song can be yours. I
Exactly.
penned the lyrics, but I very much want you to sort of take the torch and run with it.
Great, fantastic. So let's talk about some songs of the album. Several songs like Forever Line or Aftermath have profound messages about love, healing, and hope. How do you balance these topics? Because love, uh, hope, healing, there's some contrast between all those topics. So tell us more about that, because there is also the aggressive music of metalcore. So it's love, but it's metalcore. So it's not really the same kind of feeling.
I think there's a common line that draws through all of those things. And I don't think you can have love without hate or being aware of
Oh,
hate. And I don't think you can have satisfaction or victory without, frustration and anger. And
do you think that?
I do think that we must experience darkness as well as light. I don't think you can define your light until you have walked through the darkness. And I think
Yeah.
anybody who hasn't experienced real darkness doesn't know true light. And I say that carefully because I'm sure people would disagree, but I'm only speaking from my point of view and the way I see the world and what I've been through and what I've seen others go through. And I think if you're open to hear other people's stories, you can learn a lot about yourself and about the human condition. Humans are meant to survive. Everything that we do, neurologically speaking, is based on survival. So when you go through a dark time or you go through a traumatic event, your neurons, your body does things you're unaware of. And you don't have control over that in the moment. Your body's responding without you even knowing it. And I think there's a metaphor there when it comes to our interactions with human beings, ourselves, the way we see ourselves, even our self confidence. Some of that is subconscious. And the only way you're going to tap into your subconsciousness is through your consciousness. So you have to sit with grief. You have to sit with your anger. And if you sit with it long enough, you'll find a way through it. You can't avoid it. You can't numb it. You can't push it down. It's going to come back up. It's going to affect you in ways you don't even know because it's the subconscious. So if you're able to sit with a feeling long enough, you gain wisdom, right? There's a difference between knowledge and wisdom. Knowledge is something you could just read on a screen and just say back to somebody. Wisdom is having sat with it, having lived through it, having walked through that moment and looking back and going, aha, I see. And when you have that aha moment, that's when you can really experience something. So a victory without a battle, what is that? It's empty, it's nothingness. So I look at the same thing as love and compassion and empathy. You can't have any of those things truly unless you know what it's like to have not have that, right? Or to experience a time in your life where you felt devoid of that. You felt you were robbed of it. You didn't get what you deserved, or you were hurt, or you were abused. So to me, it's very complex. And I think I'd like to say, I think I really touched on the darkness and the light on this record. I think there might be a little more darkness on this record. Excuse me. Ah. I'm getting over a cold, so forgive me. But you know, with this process, sitting with that darkness, sitting with that anger, led me to a more wise version of love and truth and compassion, because love is a action. It's not just something you say and it sits there. It's something that is constantly evolving and moving and takes effort. It takes daily effort to love. And that to me is the
Mhm.
most powerful weapon that we have against any of the hatred or darkness in humanity. And to me, that is the closest thing that we have to God. You know, whatever God is, love encapsulates that. And I think that's the thing we all need to contemplate on. What is love? What is it? What is love really? Love is very tattered and very broken and very sort of it's worn down. It's like an old shoe, you know. It's not something that's perfect and beautiful and behind glass that you can't touch in a museum. It's something that you pick up every day, like you put your slippers on every day and they're mashed and mangled, but you've lived life in them. To me, that's what love is. It's not perfect, but it's beautiful, it's steadfast, and it won't let you down.
Interesting, very interesting. Let's talk about touring. We know that you will begin touring the USA with a few gigs. I thought, um, is it easy to tour, to sing every night? Is it difficult for the voice to sing night after night, night after night for a long tour? I think you will play some 20 or 25 gigs in America. So is it easy to when you are touring to preserve your voice?
Mm. Um, I wouldn't say it's easy. It can be hard, but I think what it requires is for you to sort of prepare. Number one, preparation is key. The rule of thumb for me is 2 weeks. I have to sing on a regular basis for 2 weeks before that first show
Oh,
because your body goes into a bit of shock with the voice. You know, it's like if you were going to a weightlifting competition and you hadn't warmed up and you go in there, you just start lifting weights, you're gonna feel
mhm,
the pain. If you are prepared, that's number one. It helps a lot, and it gives you
super.
more confidence and more control with your voice. But equally as important is maintaining your health and your rest, getting proper rest, staying hydrated, you know, not overdoing it. If you're going to have drinks one night, you know, plan it. I'll go out and have a few beers if I know I'm in good shape and I get a good night rest. But most show nights, I'm not drinking. Or if I do, it's a glass of wine with dinner, you know, after. But rest, hydration, and then what I'm eating too. I eat very clean. I eat very healthy. Um, and I actually only eat on show days one meal a day. I eat from noon to 4, and that's it. And I fast, and that keeps my body clean, keeps my mucus very, you know, thin, keeps inflammation down. I drink a lot of ginger and like raw ginger and turmeric, and
Ah, okay.
I tend to stay away from any heavy meats. I don't eat dairy. Um, I'm very clean, and that all that stuff helps a lot. And just being prepared and making sure, because to me the performance is everything. If I haven't performed well, I'm not going to enjoy the other 22 hours of my day. So the
Oh,
performance is everything. So I do everything I can to make sure that performance is as good as it can be. And then the other things, like on a day off, having a nice meal and some drinks and having fun, I earned that. I earned that and I'll enjoy it even more as opposed to drinking every day like I used to when I was a kid. I can't do it anymore.
we haven't seen any gig in France, any concert in France and Europe. Do you have some plans to come
Yes,
here in Europe, and when?
yes. It'll be in the autumn.
Okay.
Still working on it though. That's the time frame we're looking at, and France is definitely on the docket there for sure.
It will be a headlining tour.
Yes,
Well, great. Okay. So we hope to see you very soon here in France, of course.
Yeah, I can't wait. I love France.
So thank you very much, Jesse, for all this information about this new album, This Consequence. It's a great album. As usual, Killswitch Engage always bring us good albums. So thank you very much. We hope you the best for the tour in the USA, and we hope to see you very soon here in France.
I appreciate it. Cheers.
Thank you very much.